Hey yo, I'm the MMA loser and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk about UFC 300. As we all know, it's going to take place on April 13th, and we got to talk about that stuff. All right. And before I start the video, you can watch this video at two times the speed so that it saves some of your time and you can enjoy it without really wasting a lot of your time. Okay, they're putting a poll up in here. Which semifinal? I don't care. Uh, I'm gonna start with the first fight of UFC 300, the early prelims. I mean, I think UFC 300 is actually a really good pay-per-view, arguably the best they have ever done it. I know quite a lot of people are not exactly that satisfied with UFC 300, but when you look at the early prelims, every fight in this card is actually a good fight. I mean, before starting my prediction and starting this discussion, let me just look at all the fights that are going to take place on UFC 300 on April 13th. See, let's start with the first fight of the card. Early prelims, Deiveson Figueiredo, former UFC flyweight champion, fighting his Cody Garbrandt, and former bantamweight champion. This should be a good fight. Bobby King Green is fighting Jim Miller, who I think has the most number of wins in UFC. Why is it so slow? Uh, then Jessica Andrade is fighting against Marina Rodrigues. Not exactly a great fight, but come on. We can take one or two bad fights in there. 8-10, Jim Miller, who's on a two-fight winning streak. He last lost to Aleksandar Hernandez, and prior to that, he won against Donald Cerrone. Can you believe it? So Jim Miller is, again, a nice trivia. I think if you're watching this video, then you already know that Jim Miller is the fighter who has fought in UFC 100 and UFC 200 as well. Now he's fighting in 300. Jessica Andrade is fighting against Marina Rodrigues. I think Marina Rodrigues last knocked out. I think she defeated Amanda Ribas by TKO. I'm not exactly sure. Jalin Turner is fighting against Money Moicano. Moicano wants money. Uh, I don't know who's going to win this fight. This will be an interesting fight because Jalin Turner on the feet is way, way, way better than Renato Moicano. And on the ground, I don't know much about Jalin Turner. He uses his size as an advantage against the other lightweight fighters because he is massive. He's, I believe, 6'2", 6'3" at lightweight. Sodiq Yusuf is fighting against my man Diego Lopes, arguably the most interesting, most exciting fighter in the featherweight division in UFC because this dude shows up to fight. He shows up for an entertaining fight. Holm is fighting against Kayla Harrison. I think they're going to fight at bantamweight because Kayla mostly fights at featherweight. No, she fights at lightweight. I think mostly. Yeah, Kayla Harrison is a giant compared to most of the other female fighters that you have seen in MMA. Calvin Kattar, he's going to make his return after the injury against Arnold. He's fighting former bantamweight champion. Aljamain Sterling, the Funk Master. Let's see what also is going to bring to the table in the featherweight division because in his last fight against Sugar Sean, he got knocked out in the first round. He got TKO'd. Prochazka, the crazy samurai, is fighting against Aleksandar Rakic. I don't know. I think it's been like 2 years since Aleksandar Rakic has fought. I think he last fought against May 2022. So it has been exactly 11 months. Yeah, it'll be exactly 11 months since Aleksandar Rakic has fought inside the octagon. Uh, Nevertheless, not exactly a great fight. I mean, both of them, I mean, a win of, like, whoever wins this fight can actually call for a title shot. Weird. Bo Nickal, the most hype fighter in the UFC right now, the man who has all the hype that everybody, I think he should be the biggest favorite in history of UFC. At least in this card, he should be the biggest favorite. He's fighting with Cody Brundage. I have never seen Cody Brundage fight, at least not live. I've probably seen him as highlight reel against, in somebody's highlight reel probably. Charles Dubronx Oliveira is fighting against Arman Tsarukyan. This should be a good fight. Arman, a win against Charles will guarantee him a title shot. Charles, I don't, even if he wins or loses against Arman, he still get, I think if he loses, he's not getting a title shot. If he wins, he'll probably fight with Makachev in June or maybe July. I don't know. Justin Gaethje is fighting against Max Holloway for the BMF belt. This should be a very good fight. Then the Battle of China. I mean, the Chinese. fighters are going to battle for the UFC Women's Strawweight Championship. Zhang Weili, one of I think the best female fighter that we have in the UFC right now, the most entertaining one definitely, is fighting against her fellow countrywomen. Uh, Xiaonan should be a good fight. And the main event, Alex Pereira is fighting against Jamahal Hill. Alex is going to defend his light heavyweight championship against Jamahal Hill. And Jamal never really lost his light heavyweight championship. So, interesting fight, right? That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be an interesting fight. Okay, let's start with the uh, early prelims. The first fight, Deiveson Figueiredo is going to fight against Cody Garbrandt. I still remember, I think, was it UFC 200 when Cody Garbrandt, was it 200? When Cody fought against, I think so. Let me just check. I think so. Most probably. Let me check. I think Kobe fought against Dominic Cruz, where he looked like a world beater. Was it UFC 300? I don't exactly remember. When was it? December? No. There was Nunes versus Rousey. Yeah, UFC 207. No, I was confusing UFC 207 to 200 because I think Amanda Nunes. I think Amanda fought. No, that was Holm versus who was it? Brock Lesnar fought in it. So yeah, I'm confusing it. Both of them. Okay. Cody Garbrandt, former bantamweight champion, the man who defeated Dominic Cruz, and after that he lost back-to-back against TJ Dillashaw twice. And after that, he's been on a win and lose one kind of a situation. His chin has been gone. I think he's a really fast fighter. I think a lot of people are saying that he's the fastest in bantamweight. I don't think he's the fastest in bantamweight. Maybe he is really fast, but it's like he's not accurate. His defense is bad. He always gets chin. So that's a problem. I think when he was on display against Dominic Cruz, he was really good. But again, he could not finish Cruz. So that's another thing we need to take into consideration. Deiveson Figueiredo in his last fight has looked decent against Rob Font. He looked good, to be fair. He lost to Brandon Moreno. Doctor stoppage. And back then, Deiveson Figueiredo was dealing with bad weight cuts and whatnot. In bantamweight, I think he should be a healthy fighter at bantamweight. He is 5'5". I think he'll be a smaller fighter against Cody Garbrandt, but again, Merab is I believe 5'8", 5'9", whatever, 5'6", and still he beats up a lot of people. So I think Figueiredo can also do it. I think Figueiredo has better grappling than Cody Garbrandt, and Cody might have a bit more power, bit more pop on his punches, but again, that will be debatable. That is debatable, I believe. That is kind of debatable because Deiveson also has power. It's not like Deiveson is someone who doesn't have any power. But Deiveson is older. He is 36. Cody is 32. And I'm fairly certain Cody has been knocked out more than Figueiredo in his UFC career. So my prediction is going to be Deiveson Figueiredo by dominant unanimous decision. So yes, I don't see a lot of finishes. A lot of people are predicting a lot of finishes, but I think this should be Deiveson Figueiredo is going to win by a unanimous decision against Cody Garbrandt. The battle of the veterans, the battle of the OGs, all-timers. You've been watching UFC for a long time. If you have been following MMA for a very long time, then you're going to enjoy this fight between Bobby, the King Green, against Jim Miller. Bobby Green in his last fight got destroyed, got knocked out like 3 times in the very same fight against Jalin Turner. Everybody who was watching that fight live was pretty much closing their eyes and begging the ref to stop the fight, which is not a good thing. He got hurt, and that was in December, I think, January, February, March. Okay, he has had 3 months of rest, which I think is not enough. I'll be very honest. 3 months of rest after a knockout like that. I think he should have taken a bit more rest, but he's fighting Jim Miller again, who is also very old. Bobby is 37. And Jim is what, 50? I'm kidding. Jim is probably 41. Yeah, Jim is 40, exactly. Both of them are no spring chicken. They're not really, I mean, I don't know what's left in both of their careers. They're not going to be champions, of course, in this stage of their career, but they're just fighting for the love of it because they just don't want to do something else. And I frankly don't think they can do anything else apart from fighting and coaching. And with their experience, I think both of them can be good coaches. But it's up for them to decide when they want to retire. But Jim Miller in his last two fights looked really good. Bobby in his last fight did not look super good. So I don't know if I want to spend a lot of time analyzing a lot about this fight. I think this is going to be a good fight. I don't know what to predict. I think, uh, okay, Bobby did knock out Grant Dawson, so and he did defeat Tony Ferguson. So I think Bobby Green is going to win this fight by a split decision. I think this is going to be a split decision, or maybe Jim Miller wins by a submission. I don't know. I think whoever wins this fight, they're going to win by a split decision, and all the fans uh, um, in the stadium, in the arena, are just going to love this fight, and this will become a cult classic UFC fight for the ages by split decision. Whoever wins, I'm going to go with Bobby King Green by. I think I'm going to go with Jim Miller by unanimous by split decision because he lost his because he won his last fight and Bobby got knocked out real good, and that might take a lot. That might do a lot of damage to his chin. So yeah, Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. I don't know. I don't know how to predict this one. I'll be very honest. I don't know how to predict this one. Oh, I don't know how to predict this one. Um, she lost. She won against Michelle Watterson. Not good. Not exactly the kind of fighter they'd want to. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade. I think in her last fight she knocked out Mackenzie Dern. She lost to Tatiana Suarez, Yan Xiaonan, Eris Blanchfield. All three of them are really good fighters. So I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade by a unanimous decision or maybe a knockout. Maybe a second round knockout. I think second or a third round knockout for Jessica Andrade or maybe a unanimous decision. Either of the two. Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. Jalin Turner in his last fight defeated Bobby Green. Not exactly the greatest achievement to be fair, but he knocked out Bobby Green, but that was like, even Jalin Turner was really sad after that knockout. Like everybody was scared. He's fighting against Renato Moicano. Moicano recently has looked really good. In his last fight against Drew Dober, he did get hurt a bit. Jalin is the younger guy. And on the feet, I think Jalin Turner wins this fight because Jalin Turner is a much better boxer. I think he's a much better striker than Renato Moicano. And I think Renato is 5'11". Renato is not exactly a small guy. He's pretty good when it comes to lightweight division. He's a pretty good, healthy lightweight. But it's just that Jalin Turner is huge. It'll be interesting how Jalin Turner uses his um, height and reach as an advantage. How he uses his height and reach. Renato Moicano submitted Brad Riddle again. He won a unanimous decision against Drew Dober. I think if he follows the same game plan like he did against Drew Dober, that is getting Jalin Turner on the ground and somehow finding a submission or just dominating him or just controlling him on the ground for 3 rounds, like he did against Drew Dober, I think he can win. But if he tries to go rock and sock and robot and he tries to strike with Jalin Turner, I don't think that'll be a very good idea for Jalin Turner. Sorry, I don't think that'll be a very good idea for Renato Moicano because I think Jalin Turner has quite a lot of pop in his punches. And Matthews Gamrot won against Jalin Turner just by taking him down again and again. I think Renato Moicano Carnerio, I don't even know that was his name. Yeah, Renato Moicano's father had a child recently. So yeah, weird people, man, weird people. But I like them. But I genuinely like Renato Moicano. So again, I'm not a fighter. I'm just a fan. I can only talk smack and I can only just predict stupid stuff. But Renato Moicano, though, if he shows up, if the Renato Moicano, the wrestler, Renato Moicano, the grappler, shows up and follows a really straightforward game plan where he takes Jalin Turner to the ground again and again, I think he can win this fight. Basically Renato Moicano have to be like Aljamain Sterling plus Murad Billy and somewhat of whatever Habib and other people in his camp are doing. He just needs to do all of that. He basically needs to keep Jalin Turner on the ground and win this fight on the ground. I don't see him winning the striking. So I'm going to go with, I just like Renato Moicano, but Jalin is still young. Jalin can catch him, but I think Jalin Turner by miraculous TKO, maybe. Or maybe Renato Moicano by 3-round domination. Who knows? Sodiq Yusuf versus Diego Lopes. Look, I'm going to be very honest. I'm not going to bet against Diego Lopes because he has looked untouchable. He has looked phenomenal in his last 3 fights. Or probably 4 fights. I don't exactly remember. Sodiq Yusuf is 30. I think Diego Lopes is 29. I would say. Yeah, he's 29. See, he has only like his last two fights. He looked phenomenal against Gavin Tucker. He got a submission against Pat Sabatini, KO'd Pat Sabatini, and he lost against Movsar Evlaev. But in that fight with Movsar Evlaev, which I think he took on a 4 days notice or a 5 days notice, maybe a 1 week notice at most, and still he was going for the submission. He was going for the kill against Movsar Evlaev. That just shows that this man has the guts and the courage to take a fight against someone like Evloev and go for it. Not just be defensive, not just be um, lying back on the floor and trying to use jiu-jitsu just like Ron Gracie and all of those guys do. No, he was trying to go for a kill. He was trying to submit Evloev. He was trying to win the fight. So I think he should win this fight again by. I think he can submit Sodiq Yusuf. I think he should submit Sodiq Yusuf. I know Sodiq Yusuf has power, but he lost to Edson Barboza. That was a 5 round fight, so it'll be interesting to see. He won against Alex Caceres and Don Shanies. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think I'm going to go with Diego Lopez by submission or TKO. I don't know how he does it, but I think that's how that I think he's been on a roll. I'm going to go with Diego Lopez by some kind of a submission or by TKO. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. I think Kayla Harrison wins this one by. Depends on which version of Kayla Harrison shows up. Because I've never seen her fight at 135. To be fair, I've never seen Kayla Harrison fight. I think Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm. Holly Holm is like what, 50 years old? I like Holly Holm though. I vibe with her. She's 42. She's probably. Wait, how come there are two fighters like Bobby Green and Jim Miller in a fight card, and Holly Holm is the oldest one among all of them? She's 42 and still fighting in UFC. Gotta respect her. And she's still fighting really tough opponents. Kayla Harrison isn't really the toughest opponent, but still, you gotta respect her, man. You gotta still respect her. Uh, I don't know. I think Kayla Harrison should win this one by a boring unanimous decision, and people are going to put both of them. I can see that happening. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Look, if this was Aljamain Sterling versus a good active featherweight fighter, I would have favored that active featherweight fighter. If this was Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev, I would say Evloev. If it was Aljamain Sterling versus Arnold Allen, I would have said Arnold Allen or Max Holloway or who else is there? I don't know. Who else is there? Volkanovski. Of course, I'm going to go with Volkanovski. But with Calvin Kattar, I don't know how his injuries are healed up. So I'm a bit skeptical about Calvin Kattar. He's on a 2 fight losing streak. He did win that fight against Josh Emmett in the eyes of many fight fans. He did do damage to Giga Chikadze. But it'll be interesting to see how Aljamain Sterling uses his grappling in a division where he is not exactly the bigger fighter. He's not exactly that big when it comes to featherweight division. He was a big bantamweight, like he was pretty strong, and most of the people in bantamweight do not really carry a lot of power. And their striking is good. Like you got Yan and O'Malley, but I don't know. I'm really skeptical. If this was an active Calvin Kattar, I would have gotten with Calvin Kattar really easy. But we haven't seen Calvin Kattar fight for a very long time, so I'm a bit skeptical, and I don't know how to predict this one. So yeah, I haven't seen Calvin Kattar after that injury, so I'm not going to predict this one. So I don't know. I don't know. Whoever wins this fight, I just don't care. I just genuinely don't care. I mean, I want to see a good fight. It'll be interesting. So I'm not going to predict this one. Yuri Prochazka versus Aleksandar Rakic. He is 6'4". I think Rakic is 6'5". Rakic is huge. Uh, Rakic is 6'5", dude. He's huge. He's huge. You got to respect this dude. Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith. Look, the way Rakic wins this fight, if he can take Yuri Prochazka to the ground and throw a lot of leg kicks before he takes him to the ground. So I'm going to go with Yuri Prochazka because I haven't seen Rakic for a very long time. So I'm going to go with Yuri Prochazka by some weird KO or maybe Aleksandar Rakic by unanimous decision, by a boring unanimous decision. I have no idea what I say. Okay, like I would say Aleksandar Rakic by a boring unanimous decision. Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. I would say Bo Nickal by TKO round 1. Yeah. 10-5 is not exactly a bad record, but he won against Zachary Reese. Who the hell is that dude? Jacob Malcolm, Cedric Dumas, Rodolfo Vieira, Mikhail Oleksisuk. Uh, okay, none of those are Bonical. So I'm going to go with Bonical with, by TKO round one. It has to be. If Bo doesn't finish Cody Brundage in the very first round, then he is not worth the hype. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Bonical. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now we are coming to the main card. Arman Tsarukyan, Alka um, Alaka he's fighting against Charles Oliveira. In his last fight, Arman Tsarukyan knocked out Beneil Dariush with KO knee and punches. I don't think he landed that knee. It was not the knee. It was just that weird punch that he landed on Beneil, even without landing his feet on the ground. So, and Beneil is not exactly the most defensively sound fighter in UFC. Let us be very honest about it. And when it comes to Charles Oliveira, well, Charles is also not exactly a great defensive fighter. We all know that. So it'll be interesting to see how Arman deals with Charles Oliveira. We haven't seen Arman Tsarukyan fight someone at the level of Charles Oliveira. We saw him defeating Beneil Dariush, who also Beneil Dariush also got head kicked by Charles Oliveira before fighting against Arman Tsarukyan. I think so. I think so. Okay, Shardog is really slow. But yeah. Uh, hmm. Okay. In June he lost to Charles. Then in December he lost to Arman. So it'll be interesting to see how Charles Oliveira fights against Arman Tsarukyan. Arman is fairly young. I believe he's 28 right now, 27. He's very young, and he has already fought against the champ, that is Islam Makhachev, and he has given the best fight. He has had the best fight against Makhachev compared to Oliveira or any other fighter against Makhachev. He has given the toughest competition to Makhachev in UFC, apart from that guy who knocked out Makhachev in his very first UFC fight. Apart from that, I don't think anyone has given a lot of trouble to Makhachev. Of course, Volkanovski in their first fight gave some trouble to Makhachev, then he got head kicked in the second fight to the. Yeah, that was a bad one. That was like a bad decision by Volkanovski to take that fight in short notice. On short notice, not exactly a great fight. But Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira, it is quite difficult for me to predict because both of them have defeated the same opponent in a similar manner. Charles finished Beneil, and so did Arman. And Charles hasn't fought for a year. I think Charles hasn't fought probably less than a year, and Arman has fought last in December, so 5 years. He's been pretty active. Charles was supposed to fight against Makhachev, but he could not make the. I think he could not fly due to some. There was a cut in his eyebrow, due to which he could not fly into. He could not fly to Dubai, and yeah. Well, look at his resume. He has defeated Usu and has lost only once in his last one. His last loss came in 2017, then in 2022 against Makhachev, who's currently the champion. But the thing is, Makhachev is a better striker than Arman Tsarukyan. Their grappling, I think Makhachev is a better grappler. Makhachev is much bigger. And whenever Makhachev fights, I tell people that Charles Oliveira is not exactly the strongest fighter when it comes to his physical abilities, whereas Makhachev is goddamn strong. Arman Tsarukyan is pretty strong. Wrestlers, they tend to be stronger than jiu-jitsu fighters on an average because they've been wrestling and they've been lifting people from day one. And I've been to jiu-jitsu gym. I've been around wrestlers. I've been to wrestling gym, and the way they train is completely different. Because in wrestling, you have to be your physical conditioning matters a lot more than jiu-jitsu. Because jiu-jitsu is a lot about flow. In wrestling, there is flow, but still you're going to get slammed. So it's different. So uh, I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan by a unanimous decision. I don't know. A lot of people are saying that Arman, but again, the last time I predicted that Benyon Sandini was going to win, he lost. I did predict Justin Gaethje to win against Rafael Fiziev. I think that I got right, or I'm wrong. But the top three fighters in the lightweight division, they always tend to win because they are that good. We always tend to count them out, and they always prove all of us wrong. So I think Charles Oliveira can do that again. But Arman is a better fighter than BSD, and he's definitely, I don't know how if he's as good of a fighter as Rafael Fiziev, but Fiziev doesn't really do a lot of takedowns. Fiziev is not exactly a great grappler, but Tsarukyan is a better grappler. Look, uh, I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan by a TKO. I think I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan by a TKO, or I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan by a split decision. Yeah, that's a really bold prediction or a weird prediction. So my prediction for UFC 300, Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. I'm going to say Arman Tsarukyan by a split decision. He wins this fight. Yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to go and follow all the other people, whatever they say. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. I'm going to go with Justin Gaethje by a unanimous decision against Max Holloway. I don't think anybody is knocking out Max Holloway. He has never been knocked before, and I don't think Justin Gaethje is going to be able to knock him out. I think he's going to hurt Holloway. A lot of people are saying that Holloway this time around he's going to pack a lot more power. Okay, but I don't think Justin Gaethje has been knocked out clean by anybody. Oliveira had to choke him, Habib had to choke him, and then Dustin had to TKO him. And I just don't think Holloway has that kind of a power like Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. They're both really strong, and that was in 2018. And in his last fight, Gaethje was able to find a way to knock out Dustin Poirier. And since this is going to be a 3-round fight, I think Gaethje is going to win this by unanimous decision. Yeah, Max Holloway, I think he's a really good fighter, but I don't know. I haven't seen him fight anybody except for Dustin in the 155 pound, that is in lightweight division. And he looked good against Dustin, but it's just that he did not have enough power. And I think Gaethje is going to throw a lot of leg kicks. I think Gaethje should throw more leg kicks. Nobody's going to shoot for takedowns in this fight. I know that for sure. So I'm going to go with Justin Gaethje by a unanimous decision. Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. I think Zhang Weili by a unanimous decision. Yep. Look, if this was some other person apart from Yan Xiaonan, I would say Zhang Weili by a TKO in round 1 or round 2. But the difference is Zhang Weili, I think she respects Yan Xiaonan a lot, and I don't think she's going to be that aggressive like she was against Amanda Lemos or Carla Esparza or Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Wow, Joanna. I don't think she's going to be that aggressive against Yan Xiaonan because they are both from the same country. And unlike America, the other countries, especially the China, people are kind of cordial, at least I would like to believe, against for their fellow country people, for their fellow countrymen and women. Unlike America, like where you got Kobe and I don't know, Sean Strickland, both patriots, and they're both fighting against each other. They're both always against each other. But I don't think that's how it works in China. But I think Jack Wade is going to win this by a dominant, unanimous decision. This isn't going to be the greatest fight, in my opinion. They'll be both very respectful against each other. So I still think Zhang Weili wins this by a unanimous decision. So, yeah. Yan Xiaonan, look, she's good, but I don't think she is that good of a fighter. I don't think she is well-rounded. I think Weili Zhang or Zhang Weili, Weili is going to take her down multiple times, and she's going to win by controlling her on the ground and landing a good number of ground and pound. So I think Zhang Weili, she wins this by unanimous decision. Now let's talk about the main event of UFC 300. Jamahal Hill, he is making his return after the injury that he had. I think that was some Achilles tear, whatever. His last loss was against Paul Craig. I'm not sure. I might be wrong, but I think his last loss was against Paul Craig. Yeah, Paul Craig submitted him by TKO, elbows and punches. I don't think there was TKO by elbows and punches. He just broke his arm. Yeah, that he just broke his arm. There wasn't. Nah. There's something wrong. Jamahal Hill is a good fighter, but can he defeat Alex Pereira? I don't think Jamahal Hill is going to take down Alex Pereira. I don't think he is going to do that. When it comes to striking, Alex Pereira, I still think he's the best striker we have in the middleweight and the lightweight and the light heavyweight division. The reason I say that because Alex Pereira is not somebody like Izzy. Izzy is a really good striker. He's a sniper, but Pereira is different. Pereira has more power. Pereira has precision, and the leg kicks that Pereira throws are different. So I'm going to go with Alex Pereira by TKO. I think so. Jamahal Hill hasn't fought in a hot second. He hasn't fought in a. He's 32. He's fairly young. His last fight was in 2023, so he hasn't fought for a year. And Alex probably fought 3 times since that. Yeah, he has fought 3 times actually. He has actually fought 3 times. He lost to Israel Adesanya. Then he won against Blachowicz and Prochazka. I don't think Jamahal Hill has the striking of Adesanya. So I'm going to go with Alex Pereira by a third round TKO since this is going to be a 5 round fight. I think he's going to go by a third round TKO. I can be wrong. I do not mind if I'm wrong. I like Jamahal Hill. I think he's cool. He is one of the very few people who calls out Ariel Helwani for all the bullshit that Ariel Helwani does. And I think recently Wayne Buckley, the man, also called him out. Whatever. I don't care. I haven't met Helwani, but it just seems like he's weird, dude. And again, I'm not from America. I don't care about their politics, but whatever. Alex Pereira, I think Alex Pereira is going to win this by a TKO, third round TKO. You know what? Should I go really bold and say that Alex Pereira wins this by a unanimous decision or maybe a split decision? Because Jamahal Hill went a decision. He went 5 rounds against Glover. No, yeah, I did he? I don't remember. I think he went 5 rounds against Glover. Yeah, he won. I think Alex Pereira wins this by I believe a third or fourth round TKO. That is what I believe in. I can be wrong. If I'm wrong, I don't really mind if I'm wrong, but it is what it is. And yeah, I'm just going to quickly sum up all my picks for UFC 300. Okay, starting from the early prelim, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, and I think Deiveson Figueiredo wins this by a unanimous decision. Bobby Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I think Jim Miller wins this by a split decision. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodrigues. I think Jessica Andrade wins this by maybe a third round TKO or second round TKO. Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. You know what? I'm going to go with Jalin Turner. I think Jalin Turner wins this by a unanimous decision, round 3. Sodiq Yusuf versus Diego Lopes. I would say a second round or a first round TKO for Diego Lopes. Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison wins this by a boring unanimous decision, and everybody hates her. Again, I like Kayla Harrison. She does judo, which is one of my favorite martial arts in the world. But still, it's just that I don't like. I just don't understand why she is coming to the UFC this late in her career. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to go with Aljamain Sterling by a boring unanimous decision. Again, a lot of people boos him, a lot of people they boo him, and he just goes into this downward spiral thinking that it doesn't matter whatever I do in my life. Everybody just boos me for again and again for no reason. Okay, Aljamain Sterling, that's it. Jiri Prochazka versus Aleksandar Rakic. I'm going to go with Jiri Prochazka by a third round by a unanimous. No, I'm going to go with Aleksandar Rakic. Who should I go with? I'm going to go with Aleksandar Rakic by a boring unanimous decision again. Bo Nickal first round TKO or maybe first round submission against Cody Brundage. If Bo doesn't finish Cody Brundage in the round 1, then he is not the hype. He's Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. I'm going to say Arman Tsarukyan by a unanimous by a split decision. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. I'll say Justin Gaethje wins this by a unanimous decision or majority split decision, whatever. Justin Gaethje wins this in a dominant split decision. Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. Zhang Weili by a dominant decision, a decent dominant decision, unanimous decision. Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. I would say Alex Pereira wins this by a third round TKO. Yeah, that is it. That is it. That is my prediction, you guys, for UFC 300, which is arguably the biggest UFC card of all time, on paper at least. And if you enjoyed this video, then drop a like and please subscribe to my channel. I've got very few subscribers, so please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's it. That's it for UFC 300. And do write me in the comments who you think, if you agree with my picks and if you disagree with my prediction. I do love to have conversation when it comes to comments. Yeah, peace out, guys. Peace out.